The summer air was hot, but the ground at the launch site shook with fear. A giant silver rocket worth billions stood waiting on its pad. Thousands of people, including reporters, scientists, and engineers, had gathered to watch history. But then chaos began. "System failure!" an engineer shouted. "Abort countdown!" another cried. Red lights flashed across the control center. Alarms rang loud. Everyone ran here and there, checking computers, pulling wires, shouting into headsets. The CEO of the company, a tall man in a black suit, stormed into the room. His name was Mr. Raymond, known for his power, money, and sharp tongue. He slammed his hand on the table. "Do you know how much money is on the line?" he roared. "Billions. And you fools can't even launch one rocket." The engineers dropped their heads in shame. Nothing was working. Nearby, outside the control center, a poor mechanic named Ibrahim was repairing broken carts and old engines. He was not part of the rocket team, just a man hired to fix small machines around the site. Beside him stood his daughter, Aisha, only 15 years old. She had grown up in her father's workshop. While other girls played with dolls, Aisha played with spanners, gears, and wires. She could fix a motorbike in minutes. She knew the sound of every engine. She often told her father, "One day I'll touch the stars." As the alarms kept ringing, Aisha's curious eyes moved to the rocket. She noticed the giant machine, its body trembling. Something about the sound of the engine caught her attention. Inside, the CEO shouted at his staff, "Fix it now, or my company will be ruined." Still, no one could solve it. Computers showed errors, and every engineer was stuck. Then Mr. Raymond's eyes caught the sight of Aisha, standing quietly with her father. He laughed coldly. "What is this child doing here?" he sneered. Then, pointing at her, he mocked, "If you're so interested, little girl, why don't you fix my rocket? Or is it too hard for a child like you?" The engineers chuckled. Some whispered, "What a joke!" But Aisha didn't lower her eyes. She looked straight at the powerful CEO and said clearly, "I accept your dare." The room went silent. Everyone froze. A 15-year-old girl fixing a billion-dollar rocket. "Impossible!" Her father panicked. "Aisha, don't," he whispered, but she placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Trust me, Baba." The CEO smirked. He thought the girl would embarrass herself. "Fine, go ahead," he said. With calm steps, Aisha walked toward the rocket. The tall machine towered over her like a giant beast. The crowd of engineers and workers followed, curious to see her fail. Aisha placed her hand on the rocket's body. She closed her eyes and listened to the faint vibrations. Then she bent down, checked the wiring panels, opened the access door, and studied the circuits. "This isn't broken," she whispered. "It's misaligned." Her hands moved fast, steady like she had done this all her life. She pulled out a small screwdriver from her father's toolbox, adjusted wires, tightened bolts, and realigned the main fuel valve. Every move shocked the watching engineers. "Careful, girl." "That's dangerous," one shouted. "She'll break it more," another muttered. But within minutes, something incredible happened. The alarms stopped. The flashing red lights turned green. The error signs on the computers vanished. The chief engineer gasped. He tapped the screen again and shouted, "System restored. The rocket is back online." Everyone froze in disbelief. Then a loud murmur spread through the room. "She did it. The girl fixed it." The CEO's smirk vanished. His eyes widened as if he couldn't believe it. His highly paid engineers had failed, but a poor mechanic's daughter had solved the problem in seconds. Reporters began snapping photos. Workers clapped. The crowd cheered louder and louder. And far away at NASA's headquarters, officials watching the live feed stood up in shock. They had just witnessed the impossible, a teenager solving a rocket failure when experts could not. Aisha stepped back from the rocket, wiping her greasy hands on her shirt. She looked at her father with a soft smile. "It's ready now," she said calmly, as if fixing rockets was as easy as fixing a bicycle. Her father's eyes filled with tears of pride. He whispered, "That's my daughter." The CEO, speechless, stared at her. His pride was wounded, but deep inside, even he knew this girl was no ordinary child, and the world had just begun to see her brilliance. The control room was silent for a moment, then the countdown began again. 10, 9, 8. Everyone held their breath. The giant rocket roared, smoke and fire bursting from its engines. 3, 2, 1, lift off! The rocket shook the ground as it lifted into the sky, glowing like a sun. It rose higher, steady and perfect, disappearing into the blue. The crowd exploded into cheers. Engineers hugged each other, reporters shouted into cameras, and workers clapped with relief. The mission was saved. But the loudest cheers were not for the CEO, not for the company, not for the engineers. They were for Aisha, the 15-year-old girl who had done the impossible. Her father, Ibrahim, stood beside her with tears in his eyes. He whispered, "You fixed it. You really fixed it, Aisha." Before Aisha could reply, a phone rang loudly in the control room. It was the NASA director himself, calling live from America. His voice boomed through the speakers. "Who fixed that rocket? Who solved the failure?" The chief engineer quickly pointed toward Aisha. His voice was trembling with pride. "Sir, it was her, the mechanic's daughter." The room gasped. Reporters dropped their pens. The CEO's face turned pale. He wanted to hide the truth, but now the world knew. The NASA director laughed in disbelief. A 15-year-old girl. Impossible. Put her on the line. Aisha stepped forward nervously. "Hello," she said softly. "Child," the director said, his voice gentle now, "what you just did saved a billion-dollar mission. Do you understand? You have a gift, Aisha. Machines speak to you." Aisha smiled shyly. "I only listened. Engines tell their story if you pay attention." The director turned serious. "I want you in NASA's Young Innovators program. You'll learn, you'll grow, and one day you'll design rockets of your own." The room gasped again. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed non-stop. The CEO, who had mocked her minutes ago, now stood frozen. His arrogance melted. Slowly he walked up to Ibrahim and Aisha. "I was wrong," he admitted, his voice heavy with shame. "I mocked you, but today you saved my company and my pride. Please, allow me to sponsor Aisha's education. Money, training, everything she needs, I'll provide it." Ibrahim's eyes filled with tears. He looked at his daughter. She had always dreamed of touching the stars, but he could never afford it. And now, the doors of the universe were opening for her. But Aisha raised her chin proudly. She spoke with the confidence of someone far older. "Thank you, sir, but I don't need charity. I'll work hard and prove myself. My father gave me everything already, his trust, his knowledge, and his love." The room fell silent. Even the CEO had no words. Reporters captured her statement, and it spread across the world within hours. Headlines appeared everywhere. 15-year-old mechanic's daughter saves rocket launch. NASA calls her a genius. That night, Aisha and her father sat outside their small house. The stars sparkled above, brighter than ever. "Do you see them, Baba?" Aisha whispered. "One day I'll go there." Her father put an arm around her shoulder. "I know you will. The stars are waiting for you." Within weeks, NASA arranged for Aisha to visit America. She was given a scholarship, advanced training, and mentors who treated her like a rising star. The CEO attended her farewell, this time with respect in his eyes. He shook Ibrahim's hand firmly. "You raised a legend," he admitted. Aisha boarded the plane with hope burning inside her heart. The poor mechanic's daughter, once mocked as just a child, was now walking the path to become one of the world's youngest rocket scientists. And somewhere in the deep sky above, rockets continued to roar, this time carrying the dreams of a 15-year-old girl who dared to believe.